Joining us on the show today is one of the best women's wrestlers of all time. She is a multi-time champion, a country music superstar, and you can see her wrestling for Global Force Wrestling on January 22nd and 23rd. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show, Mickie James.
Woohoo!
Mickie, thank you so much for joining us today, and Happy New Year. You had an amazing 2015. Do you think you'll be able to top it in 2016?
I sure hope so. You say it was an amazing 2015, which it was great, but I think we can make 2016 much better.
Well, we've got lots to talk about today, but we want to get right into Global Force Wrestling. You've been wrestling all over the world for many different companies, so what was it that drew you to Global Force Wrestling?
I think it's the energy, really, and the synergy. I mean, Jeff is great. I've worked for Jeff when TNA first started, So, and I saw what he took that to, and now to start out on something new and exciting. And let's face it, the business needs something new and exciting. And I want a place for everybody to work and everybody to make money and have fun. And I think GFW is doing great things. We're doing the first ever UK live shows. We did those, and then we're going back over in March. And, I know this whole season's getting ready to pick up, and we're going back to some of these baseball stadium shows over the summer, and it's just going to be, it's been great. And the TVs that we shot in Vegas are amazing, like the quality and the backstage segments and everything. It's so unique, and it's shot so differently than any other wrestling that's out there right now. So it's kind of cool to see the kind of the mesh of a little bit of the MMA style as far as some of the promos or the realism to it,
Absolutely. Now, you're at a different point in your career. You've been a lot of places. You've conquered them all. With that being said, what are some of your immediate goals in Global Force Wrestling? Do you want to go straight for the championship, or are you just enjoying being in a different place at a different time?
All of the above.
Awesome.
All of the above. I think it's just my nature to strive to be the best. In every company that I've been in, I've always tried to be, the best female there, or not just the best female, but one of the best talent that they have, male or female. Why close off your, goals to just one little genre there, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But yeah, so I don't know. I have big hopes for GFW, not only to win the GFW Women's Championship, but also to kind of be a staple in the women's division and hopefully help mold the future talent. Because let's face it, I don't want to wrestle forever for sure, but I've always wanted to be involved in the wrestling business in some aspect, and whether that is, on camera or behind the camera, or helping, mold some of the newer generation of talent that's coming around, and, maybe teach them some of the stuff that I've learned in my career, from camera angles to promos to working in front of a live audience to working the television crowd, because that's two different things, Mm-hmm. So.
Sure. Now, Mickie, we here at Another Wrestling Podcast are excited to have you back wrestling in the Northeast. On January 22nd, 23rd, you'll be a part of GFW's historic Northeast tour. Now, do you have any favorite memories of wrestling maybe at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie, or at least the Northeast? Because this is the first time Global Force Wrestling will be in the Northeast up here.
It is. So I'm excited about that. Oh, man. Oh, God. It's hard to, I have so many fond memories of so many different shows I've done all over, and it's really hard to pinpoint one thing to say, oh, that was it. Some of the best crowds have been in the Northeast because they're so vocal, and they're very, some vocal in the best ways, some vocal in the worst ways, right? But,
Yep.
But vocal nonetheless, which is better than not. And, so I enjoy playing off the crowd and giving them what they want, even if they don't think it's what they want. Sure. It was even as the bad girl, that was one of my favorite, was playing the bad girl, even though I haven't been able to do it very often in my career.
Sure.
I'm really good at it. I'm a bad girl in real life.
Well, on January 22nd, you're going to be live at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center, like we just said. You'll be wrestling indie sensation Kimberly as well as GFW's women's champion Christina Von Eerie. Are we going to get to see you add another title to your already legendary resume?
Well, I sure hope so. I'm not coming all the way to Poughkeepsie to lose. That's for damn sure.
Well,
Is that too cocky? Is that too cocky?
That is not. We are definitely on your side. We're rooting for you because mainly
Thank
I'm afraid
you.
to get beat up.
I faced Kimberly before, obviously for, I faced her in Maryland, and I think she's very, very talented. And isn't Deanna Paluzzo, is that Deanna Paluzzo? Am I saying it right?
I think that she is no longer going to be there. We're not 100% sure yet. We heard from her that she may not be on that show.
Oh, well, that just made me a little sad. I was looking forward to that.
Yes, us too.
Yeah. Oh, well. Well, you win some, you lose some, or you just don't show up for some. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Now, it was also announced, too, that you would be taking part in a huge GFW tour of the United Kingdom in March. What are some of your favorite things about wrestling overseas? Is there just something different over there that's maybe not like over here?
I think what it is when we go wrestle over there, because their audience doesn't see, they don't get tours over there, like the big tours or like the big U.S. companies. They don't come over very often. Like TNA goes over, once a year? WWE goes over twice a year. Now with NXT, they'll probably go over 4 times a year if you count, because they're WWE too, obviously, right? So,
yes.
But in reality, other than that, they have, just like the United States has, their indie federations or whatever, and they have some pretty good ones over there. But I think the energy, they get so excited to see you, and they're so grateful, and they're so warming and inviting, and they're so excited that you're there that energy just transcends throughout the show, right? So it just brings that much more out of you in your performance.
Awesome. Now, travel is a huge part of the wrestling business. What are some of the things that you do to keep busy or sane on the road while you're traveling?
It's different now, because now instead of it's starting to change a little bit more because Donovan's not going on the road with me as much as he had before. But, before when I was, single and fancy free, I would always, it's crazy how it's so silly, but, I would wake up in the morning and I would find the local gym and I would go work out for, my hour and a half to 2 hours. And, in between that time, I would get my coffee, obviously, because I cannot function without it. And then I can't. It's impossible. It's that is definitely my fix. So, and then, grab lunch and then go to the arena. And but now it's a little bit different, obviously. So I have to kind of improvise. But to stay sane, obviously he keeps me a little bit more balanced as far as it's not just about me anymore. Because whereas before, selfishly, the selfish wrestlers, as all wrestlers are, me. Can we, I would just worry about that. And now it's just so much more demanding. And so even when he's not on the road with me, I'm still constantly, checking in on him with the nanny or with whoever he's with. And then so it's cool. I found this good balance, being able to take him on the road with me on some when it makes sense. And then others, I went to Mexico recently for a week and he didn't go. And that was a big thing. That was a big step. But it was also one of those necessary steps so I could then see that he doesn't need me by his side every waking moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So then I can start to fully function again as a human and get back into my hustling mode that I'm so used to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, Mickie, speaking of traveling and stuff, is there something in the Mickie James travel bag that you can't leave home without?
Oh, goodness. Well, my boots, for one. My headphones.
Okay.
My headphones. I need my headphones, and I always have a journal or like some type of, not that I don't care about like, oh, my diary, but I do always have like a notebook that I can jot down thoughts and songs or lyrics or just spots. No, I don't do spots as much anymore. Like I said, is, more of like ideas for like character stuff or promos or like just cool things or sayings or drawings for like a t-shirt ideas or stuff like that. Like I'm still very old school and like with a pen and a paper in that aspect.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But if you do have a diary that you could send us, we would love to read it.
I'm sure you would. I burned him. All of
them. Man. Well, obviously you'll be pretty busy with Global Force throughout the upcoming months, but after those tours with Global Force, what are you going to be busy with this year?
Well, I've started to work on some new music, so I'm writing some new music, so hopefully go back in the studio and start recording a little bit of original stuff. I don't know. I've been pondering this because I've been talking to a publishing company about a book. And I was like, hey, they approached me like a few years ago, and I was kind of like in that mode of like, I'm still very young, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my life is not even halfway over. Like, so I was kind of like torn about writing a book, but the more I've thought about it, and I've sat back for kind of 2 years, and now that I've had Donovan, and I go, well, it's not like WWE is banging on my door to come back, or like, I don't know, you just don't know as far as what that kind of thing holds. And it's like, well, I do have some really cool stories in my life up to this point that a book might be interesting. I don't know. Would it be interesting, or would it just be like one of those? Would it be like a coffee table book? Would it just collect that?
No, I think I watched the really extensive High Spots interview that you did a couple years back. And I thought that was very like entertaining and informative. So I mean, I'm all for a Mickie James book. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that was only a quarter of it.
Oh wow!
Oh, I'm surprised that did you watch all like 5 hours of it, or
are you going to be creeped out if I say yeah?
Not completely.
Okay, so I watched. I did. I watched it all. It was great.
Oh, that's awesome. No, thank you. I'm honored that you would actually take that much time to watch. That's awesome.
It was partially for research. I'll do that. I'll say that. See, that doesn't sound so creepy.
Okay. Fair enough.
No, and I was always bummed that in WWE, either an extensive WWE DVD of Mickie James or a book didn't happen. So no, I think this is. I think
know.
It's great.
I guess somewhere secretly deep down inside, and I can say this openly because I'm at that point where I just don't care anymore. But I guess somewhere deep down inside, I had hoped, and you never would come out and say, but like, oh, I guess I'd always hoped that like, oh yeah, you'll get that one more run, and then maybe they would consider doing like a book or something like that, because I feel like my life story is pretty darn interesting. But there comes a point where you just go like, you can't sit around and wait and hope for things, and I certainly am not one to sit around and beg for things. So I think that it's just like, you want to do things and you want to live life. I mean, you only live once, right? So just do it and have fun and don't apologize and just do your thing. Just do your damn thing, man. That's all you can do.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, Mickie, the fans have spoke, and women's wrestling is once again being highlighted in mainstream wrestling. Do you think this will taper off in the future, or is women's wrestling here to stay?
I sure hope not, but it's one of those things that, like, it does go through, as I think wrestling goes through generational, like, it's like a Ferris wheel almost, right? Like, so things that are hot now, they kind of go back down, and then they come back and they get hot again. And so, you look back in time and like where there was Glow and there was like, which was all women, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And Wow, which a lot of people don't remember, but that was like a huge thing back then. And it kind of tapered off, as well as like the credibility of women's wrestling. And, now that it's come back around. And I think that the fact that it's 2016 now, I mean, women are running companies, they're CEO of companies, they're congresswomen, they're running for president. I mean, so the fact that a woman can't be as big, if not bigger, a bigger star than any man on the roster is ridiculous. So why shouldn't there be? And I think they proved that to be the case as far as like not only having them finally looking around and come in and bring such the divas and the knockouts as such a huge staple in the roster and looking for like really solid, credible talent. But also like I feel like there's also that dimensional talent too, where it's like you're not looking, and I don't think that every female, just like I feel like there's a place for every type of male. Like whatever happened to male managers, like you know what I mean, like the Jimmy Harts or the Slicks, and like that was money to me. Bobby Heenan, like that was money. Jimmy Cornette, like so. There's places for all kinds of people in the business. You know what I mean? It's just finding your niche and your role and what you're best at. But I certainly hope that. I feel like as far as the championship goes, it should be the same for the women as for the men, and it should be the supreme athletes, the best in the world, competing for that championship, and nothing less. And where everything else goes, like there's room for managers, and there's also room for the girlfriends and the cat fights and all that fun stuff. Because me as a fan, I loved that stuff. It was cool when Stacy Keibler and Tori Wilson finally went at it over whatever reason. You know what I mean? Because that was cool. But I grew up in a different generation of wrestling, I guess, than now. You know what I mean? So I just feel like it's all comes full circle. And who's to say that within 10 years from now, we don't go back to that whole same cycle and it kind of resurfaces again. And then 15 years, like, oh my gosh, women's wrestling is a huge deal again. It's like, it's constant.
Sure.
Just like I feel like the business in a little bit, the business has kind of fallen off. It's like, it's really hard for people. It's hard. How do I say this without? It's a lot harder for the guys to get over these days. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody's so aware of because we've pretty much given a lot of stuff away. And so everybody's so aware and everybody feels like they're in the in and they're in the know. So then it's like, oh, well, I want to cheer the bad guy because he does such a great promo. And they've forgotten the fact that it's supposed to be like a theater show. You're supposed to be going to the movies and you're supposed to get lost in the characters and have fun. And sure, there is like elements of that where you can respect the performer for their artistry, but at the same time, allow yourself to just get lost in the stories. You know what I mean? Like, and be a fan. It's totally cool to be a fan.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Now,
did I just ramble, or did that make sense? Or what?
No, it made total sense. So much so that I felt like that I was going to ask you if you thought that having some of those alternative roles, like whenever you were there, you were kind of the resident wrestler, and then there were also valets and managers and stuff. So we were in sync.
Well, good.
All right. Now, obviously, you are no stranger to injuries in professional wrestling, and throughout 2015 and even into this year, 2016, a lot of WWE's top talents were injured. What was the worst injury that you ever had in your career? And as a wrestler, how hard is it to come back from an injury after having time off?
Oh, wow. Fortunately, like I never had any serious injuries. I tell you, like I've separated both of my shoulders twice, and they put me out, and I came back on all of them. I probably came back too soon, just because you're so not in the sense job scared, because but in the sense of like if you step out of the light, if you step out too far for too long, that somebody is quick to take your spot, as they would, and as I would if I was waiting in the wings in hopes for that spot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a bit of that, like where we tend to come back a little early or come back too early, just because we're stubborn and we don't want to be out of the limelight and we don't want to give up our spot to the next person who's hungry and wants it. But the scariest thing that probably happened to me was when I did this, I was going for her Hurricanrana on Melina. It was live on television, and it was just like her feet were on the inside, and I feel like her feet were on the, I can't even remember because I was so spaced out, and it was like you try to, and I've watched it. I think it's on the Botchamania thing, which is awesome. It's always a treat when you find yourself on there, right? You're like, oh, sweet. Good, good. Highlight of my career, Botchamania, 27. What? But yeah, and I landed, and I almost because I went to do a hurricanrana. She held on, right? So I was flipping, and I've done this move 1,000 times, right? Like maybe not 1,000, maybe 100. At any rate, when I flipped through, I didn't flip all the way, so I lawn darted myself, like literally lawn darted myself on my neck, and it jammed me. Like I would say I was like they said that I had just like a severe case of whiplash, but for like 3 weeks, I'm sitting there and I couldn't really like turn my head, and it's like I was sitting there like turning my whole body in order to see things. But of course, I'm still trying to work around it and kind of be tough because I'm in the middle of like storylines and everything else, So that was probably the scariest thing because it knocked me kind of loopy out in the middle of the ring. It was the first time that had really happened. So,
lightning round.
Your favorite show to binge watch?
Modern Family.
Awesome. Now, other than yourself, who is the greatest women's wrestler of all time?
Other than myself, of all time?
Of all the times.
Of all the time in the world.
In the whole world.
Oh my God, Sensational Sherry.
All right. If you got to handpick your retirement match, who would you wrestle against?
Current or of all time? Or of my generation?
I'll say just current to give you a little bit of a loop on this one.
That's currently on television right now.
Yeah, currently anywhere right now. Who's still wrestling?
If I had to wrestle one retirement match, anyone that's wrestling right at this present moment, I would say Kong because I've never faced her.
Okay, awesome. Now, you are obviously not only a wrestler but a musician as well. So, I would say what's the last CD you listened to? But no one has those anymore. So, what is just the last musician that you listened to?
Well, I listened to the techno mix today when I was doing cardio. Does that count?
Sure.
That doesn't really count. No, it's workout music. I would say Adele.
Okay.
It's the last and it's the where I've listened to the album.
Okay, awesome.
Now, how about your favorite food?
Steak,
awesome.
I do. I'm a steak and potato girl.
I want to know this because we're a bit of nerdy people here. But did you go see the new Star Wars?
I did not. What's the inside of a movie theater look like?
Wow.
I haven't seen one in a very long time.
I feel like you kind of have your own movie theater, though, in your house.
I wish. I mean, I have Netflix and I have, on demand.
Well, Mickie, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Everybody listening, January 22nd, 23rd, you will see Mickie James at Global Force Wrestling in Poughkeepsie and down in Rahway, New Jersey. Mickie, where can the fans keep up with you on social media these days?
Well, I just have a new improved website, mickiejames.com. It's the same it's always been. We've just revamped it a little bit. And there you can find my Twitter at Mickie James, my Facebook, Mickie L. James, Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. It's all available on my website, mickiejames.com. And hopefully I have new exciting stuff for you guys. And I'll see you in Poughkeepsie, which you're giving away free tickets to. How about that?
That is correct. And we are also going to be part of the VIP experience. We urge all the people that are buying tickets to spend the extra $25. You get to get in early. You get to listen to us yammer on to the wrestlers, and you get to meet some of the stars of Global Force Wrestling. And
myself included. Yeah.
I'm going to assume that you may or may not put one of us in a headlock. So if you want to come out and see us get beat up by amazing Mickie James, then definitely spend the extra $25.
Love it.